The Brooklyn Nets will not pay D-Will to go away. I am Jim Basquel. GM Billy King told the media on Wednesday that they will not buy out the contract of Deron Williams, nor will they use the stretch provision, assuming Williams opts into the final year of his deal. He's owed some $43 million over the final 2 seasons of that contract. Let's bring in Mike Mazzeo, who has this story on ESPN.com. Hey, Mike, he averaged about 13 points and 7 assists a game a season ago. His numbers have gone down in each of his seasons with the Nets from a productivity standpoint. He was once considered the face of the franchise. How do the Brooklyn Nets view Deron Williams today?
Well, obviously, Jim, they don't view him in that light. Recently, at his end of the season press conference, Lionel Hollins was asked, is Deron Williams a franchise player? And he said, at this point in his career, obviously, no. He's a very good player. 5 years ago, NBA GMs voted on who the best point guard was.
Yeah.
And they said Deron Williams. The Nets acquired him the next year. They thought he was going to be the face of the franchise. They gave him a max contract to stay. They invested so much money around him, acquiring Gerald Wallace, Joe Johnson. Then they went out and got Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. They spent so much money, about $400 million in salary and luxury taxes in the past 3 seasons. And they were only able to win 1 playoff series. So it hasn't gone according to plan. Now, I can see why the organization wouldn't want to buy him out. They'd probably have to negotiate that with him. They'd probably have to pay like 70% of the contract. You'd be paying him like $30 million not to play. And if you stretched him out, instead of paying that $43 million over 2 seasons, it would be over 5. So you'd save a ton of money in the short term. But then in the last 3 seasons, you'd paying him about $8 to $9 million to not be on your roster. So that might not be a good look for this team, and that might be why they are deciding to keep him and then hoping he still has something left in the tank.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're going to bite the bullet with him, so to speak. He's owed $21 million next season. As you mentioned, Lionel Hollins made it a point to say he's a good player. He's not a great player anymore. That being said, their options seem limited, but how likely is it that they can possibly find a trade partner for Williams this offseason?
It would, given the money he's owed, it would be a surprise. Now, you never know in the NBA. There might always be one team that will be willing to take him on. And that's a talk trade with the Sacramento Kings last season about Deron Williams and Mason Plumlee for a package of players, perhaps including Nick Stauskas, who's kind of a prospect over there in Sacramento that could shoot the ball. But that trade never happened. The Nets didn't want to trade Mason Plumlee, and his stock kind of fell after the All-Star break when Brook Lopez started getting healthy and really carrying the Nets, and his minutes dwindled and his role kind of diminished in Lionel Hollins' system. So, you know, I think more probably a viable candidate to be traded from the Nets or Joe Johnson with 1 year remaining in his contract. It's at $24.9 million, so it's a lot of money. You'd have to match contract, maybe find a team that has salary cap space to take him on. Still a talented player, but certainly on the decline.
Sure.
Like Deron, given his age and the fact he's played so many minutes. And then they have backup point guard Jared Jack, who's owed $6 million next season, and then has a partial guarantee for the season after that. He's another guy they possibly could look to move.
Yeah, not a lot of flexibility for Billy King this offseason with regards to kind of reshaping this roster. Mike Mazzeo covers the Brooklyn Nets and has this story on ESPN.com. Mike, thanks for some insight.
Thanks, Jim.
Of course, you can keep up with the Brooklyn Nets prior to the NBA draft by keeping a lock to the NBA page right here on ESPN.com. I'm Jim Basquel.